is not surprising me because I could personally tell the difference for content creation. There is a Claude 3.5 sound, which is best in class creative writing, more consistent tone and style, better understanding of context, a lower hallucination rate. And I can vouch for this because I use both of them. I don't have a pro version for here, but when I use Claude, it just feels better when you're writing stuff for the essays or creating any kind of writing material. It's just definitely better.
Yes, but I have a little slightly different view on. I've tried both as well. I think for me, Claude has been more dogmatic, or it goes by the basic principles of writing and other things. Right? Where's the flair? So if there's a flair, then I go to GPT-4, right? If I want some flair, some you can call it hallucination, flair, whatever. There's some element to that. But if I strictly want to write academic paper, right? Yeah, Claude is no brainer, right? It'll write the best way you want it to write, grammatically correct, and all kind of fun stuff there. Yeah.
So you want style, you go there. If you want substance, you come here.
We have. This is the good thing about multiple versions. So you can, and I think this is truly how people consume information, right? There's no one size fits all. Mm-hmm. So
that is true. So visual task, GPT-4 wins again. Accurate image analysis, complex visual reasoning, multimodal capabilities, and reliable and following visual instructions. I've done this. Not extensively, but it's just surprising. We talked about it last time too, right? What we take for granted right now, what we can do 2 months ago was like magic. So when it was 2 months ago when they introduced it, or a month ago, whenever they introduced it, it felt like magic. Now like, oh yeah, now let's do only this is what we not complaining about. We raised the bar so high, but it's definitely, I still remember using multimodal and being mind blown at that point when I used it.
It is true, right? I think we all do experience this in the consumer electronics. Like there's a VGA monitor, awesome. Then it came whatever LCD, the OLED, and now it's like, I don't know, they all look the same. Like where's the new one, right? So it kind of get
used to the disease. Where's there? I can put my fingers through the TV. Where's that? So
exactly. So, but honestly, on the visual side of things, I do believe there are a lot of other open source models that people can play with. So I think the prominent ones I can think of are I don't know whether Gwen has one. But there's InternLM. There are other visual models that I think they are on par, but they're open source, or probably partly open source because you don't know where the data is coming from. But I like you said, the GPT-4 seems to be on par. Again, we have played with what's DALL-E and other things before, right? I think now that they have integrated with the text and visual, I think it's showing some promise there.
Definitely. So the last two sections are budget-friendly options, which we all care about money. So Gemini 1.5 Flash, Minstrel 3B, and GPT 3.5 Turbo are the cheapest for less than 50 cents for a million tokens. So, and then speed is Llama 3.2, Gemini 1.5 Flash, and GPT-4 Turbo. So if you had to kind of take budget and speed into consideration, look like Gemini 1.5 Flash is a good model to use that kind of falls in the top two in both.
Gotcha. So yeah, it is. The pricing is definitely falling as the days go by, right? The competition is intense now. The people are making their own chips, like Grok and other companies. Yeah, I think we are going to see. This is going to commoditize.
Where is the break, right? It's costing more to produce this model. Pricing is going down. Somebody's eating all of this cost. It's going to be interesting in the next 6 months of how things play out. Because who started charging? Somebody else starting charging for their Plus model, just because we can't just give these away for free because it's costing so much. So I think mostly we've enjoyed the free and easy access to it. Now people have somehow investors they have to answer to, right? The things will get more expensive, I think.
Right. So let's talk about this for a second. I think I have seen in the previous cycle. Again, I was not in the dot-com boom, but uh, when I joined the workforce, right? I think because I spent much of my time in the telecom, I started with here's the fat pipe. What can we do, right? People are trying to build, oh, there's an integrated device. When I work with Sprint, they had this integrated device where you can send a fax and you can have internet, you can have a phone, everything in the same box, right? At the end of the day, you have this pipeline built, and you're trying to find
Mhm.
usefulness for it, right? I think in many ways it's the same right now. The GPT technology is, if you think of it as a basic requirement of a pipeline to build something on top of it, what are you going to build? And that's the question we are asking, and where is the value? And there's no clear answer being thrown at us right now, and everybody's wondering where are you going to make money. It's the same problem right now, right? It's just that, yes, you have the infrastructure, you have the pipeline. Now the builders are kind of little lost, right? Trying to figure who needs this.
That's true. All right. There's a moving to our next topic. This is we all know who's the going to be the next president. So, but leaving regardless who you voted for, if you kind of put on your entrepreneur hat, now you need to see how is this going to be impactful to my business or my ideas, right? So I'm coming only from that perspective. So there's some he hasn't really announced it, but during his RNC speeches and everything, he's made some announcements. So of course he wants to repeal Biden's AI executive order. Wants industry-leading safety testing, likely to narrow existing rules rather than eliminate them, and a Manhattan project for AI defense. So they want which will benefit defense contractors like Palantir you just talked about, Anduril, while focusing on competition with China and maintaining a light touch regulatory regime, which is you could use existing laws instead of creating new ones, and a state level regulation in, might increase. But I think overall, there's some consequences, but overall, I think there'll be a little bit more emphasis, at least from if you believe everything that was happened during the, the leading up to the election. So I don't know how closely you follow this. Do you have any thoughts on it?
Again, I look at it from the business environment, right? I think if you're wondering, is it going to be more deregulation or more business friendly, more innovation friendly? Probably yes, right? So, and that's the takeaway I have at this point. So that things can continue innovating. America can still continue innovating.
Correct. And I think there's going to be some tighter export controls on China, especially for AI development technologies. I can see some hardware restrictions, but how do you really, once this out, how do you really slow down this, right? That's going to be tougher, but maybe they'll figure out a way. But there has to be some enforcement of laws to close some of the loopholes that some of the non-US firms are using to access AI through to cloud services. So those are kind of things that are harder, not impossible, but harder to contain to a certain thing. But I think could mean easier startup capital, faster tech deployment, and lesser global governance participation. So because there is some worry in the VC area about regulation costs, and it's really going to create is OpenAI going to be a monopoly if you let them run? So the tariffs, I don't know how that's going to affect tariffs. If he's going to lay tariffs for AI chips being exported to other countries. So there is more to come, but overall, I think it's positive just because I believe lesser regulation is better, but not like just everybody go nuts, right? There has to be some kind of safety associated with too. And of course, whatever we can do to make sure the US is winning is helpful for everybody here. So
Right. I
your
think
thoughts?
one of the things I noticed, I think the way US operates is through the private sector or the companies, right? So when you're wondering how this is all going to get limited, probably they'll go back to the companies who are operating with the international trade and start closely monitoring what goes in and out, right? That's probably the preferred way for how it all operates here. I think to that effect, I even saw somewhere like there is a beneficial ownership information need to be filed for LLCs. There are newer things that are being enforced that the government wants to know who is doing this, what are you doing, what's happening, right? So I think they're going to go through the same methodology in this space as well, right? That's the only way they're going to. It's not going to go directly to the end person, but as a LLC, because LLCs are very fluid structures, right, as opposed to corporations. And so I think that's where I think they'll start moving in to figure out how to restrict information flow.